welcome to Waynesboro at Work, a podcast where we interview business owners and entrepreneurs to learn more about the origin stories of their business, their passion for their work, and how they give back to the community. I'm your host, Brooke Anderson, and I'm joined today by Victoria and Brian Minninger of Bear Creek Outdoor Living. Welcome, Brian and Victoria.
Thank you.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
Thanks. Yes, thank you for joining us. So for people that might not know, what does Bear Creek Outdoor Living do?
So outdoor living is kind of the business of bringing outdoor spaces close to home. So we create spaces that allow people in their homes to get outside. And so those are in nuts and bolts, their decks, their porches, their patios. And we provide the services to create those spaces. We renovate those spaces and even help bring the things that are needed to finish and design and finish those spaces.
Okay, so anything anybody wants to do outdoors is something that they could come to you for those products and services.
That's correct. Yep.
Great. So I noticed the bear on your hat. That's part of your logo. And so where did the name Bear Creek Outdoor Living come from?
I'll let Victoria answer that one.
Okay.
So back in 2016, right before I launched the company, we're just trying to come up with a name and had a list of names. And on that list was Bear Creek, but we hadn't really decided. So we had a getaway that we went to West Virginia for a getaway, and we had taken our bikes and we were out for a bike ride down the Greenbrier River Trail, actually. And as we were biking along, Brian was in front, I was pedaling behind him, and all of a sudden he comes to a screeching halt. And this black bear had come up out of the creek off to the side and had come and stood straight in the path and was just staring at us. Of course, we're just sitting on our bikes, freaking out. Well, trying not to freak out, try to remember all the things they tell you to do when a bear shows up. So anyway, and we did all those things, and he just stood there and looked at us anyway. So eventually he meandered off, and after we kind of got our breath, we're like, okay, and we kind of continued. But then we're like, well, I guess that solved that question of what to call it. And so we became Bear Creek, and it's kind of become now Bear Creek Outdoor Living.
Nice. That's definitely a memorable experience, and probably one of the coolest business naming stories that I think we've probably heard. So thank you so much for sharing that. So where did the passion for the work that you're doing now, where did that start?
I don't know where it started necessarily. I think it's evolved over the years. But for me, I love to build stuff. So it's great that that's our vehicle. I love creating out of raw materials and putting things together and building, but for us, just like we put on almost everything we put out there, is that, we build cool stuff, but more importantly, we build people. And so, we are people builders, and that's the passion. That's where we really, get passionate about what we do. And those are our team members. Those are our community members. Those are the people that we have the pleasure of working for. When we create an outdoor space that their family gets to gather in and connect and, have a barbecue, those kinds of things, it builds their family, it builds their community. And so we just love being a part of that and being a part of the larger community.
Yeah, and I think it's also something that was modeled for us in some regards. Brian a little bit differently in that, he had uncles and others in his family that have started businesses before and that sort of thing. For myself, my father, for 25 years ran his own company. And so we've definitely had people that have modeled that, whether they're family or even other business associates and stuff. And you learn from the people around you. You never get to a place by yourself. It is always a group effort and relationships that you build around you. And so I think some of the sparks of ideas and stuff that we have don't always come alone. They come from the people that have invested in us over the years. And so I think it's part of what also drives us to invest in others going back is because of what people have given into our lives as well.
Right. There's definitely a bigger mission at play there. So that's really nice to hear. So we feel lucky to have you in Waynesboro, of course. What do you think is special about having a business in Waynesboro specifically?
Well, for me, it starts with the fact that I grew up here. This is my hometown, and we lived away in Nelson County for about 6 years, and we've been back now for I guess about 5. And but yeah, I grew up riding my bike around these streets and playing ball in these fields and going to school here and going in and out of the stores. And so it's just from that standpoint, it's just great to be a part of this community. But it's great people here. I mean, the other local businesses that we work with on a regular basis that help us do what we do. Most of our team is from Waynesboro, not all of it, but a lot of it is our team is from here. And so, we just love being a part of this community and building a business that this is home base. I mean, a lot of our projects are beyond Waynesboro, but it's great to be able to come home here.
Yeah. And we've been married for 24 years, and all of our married life outside of the couple of years we spent in Nelson have been spent in this community. And so our children have grown up here and gone to school here, and our friends and family, all of our family is in this area and stuff. And so it makes it extra special when you have those kind of relationships that you've built that many years over, to just be able to be a part of that community for a long time.
Right. And as you mentioned, you have about 35 members of your staff, and a large portion of them are from Waynesboro.
Yeah, they are the majority of them, and there's 1 or 2 that may have moved into the area to take a position with us, but then they've been here a few years as well. But yeah, the majority of them. And the interesting thing is, a lot of them live and work close enough that they can bike or walk if they want to work, and that sort of thing. And so, yeah, it's nice to have them in our community.
Nice. So one of the things that I'm sure people are curious about is being a husband and wife entrepreneurial team. So I wanted to get your take on how you've made that work between the two of you, and any advice that you have for other husband and wives that might be thinking about going into business together.
You go on that one?
Sure. Well, yeah, it is rather unusual to have a husband and wife team, I suppose. And yet we really find that we enjoy working together. It doesn't come without its challenges. Believe me, we can knock heads. But I think part of that has been able to really define our roles, like our roles in the company, and who's doing what, and what that looks like. And so over the years, we've really worked hard to do that. We just read a very good book called Rocket Fuel in the last year or 2 that's really helped us even define that further. And so it just helps us to know what track to run on. And then we also know that there are times where, we need to leave work at work as much as we can. So we have a weekly meeting that's a 2-hour meeting that's during the work week. That we talk business that whole time. And so that way we don't have to take so much of it home and that sort of thing. But it is, it's always a juggling act a little bit, and just respecting one another and one another's opinions and roles. And it works for us. So.
Yeah. And a lot of couples that we've seen in business, kind of one is the lead and one is support, which that's kind of how we were years ago at our first company. But today we function much more as equals and in our roles. And so that's been a shift that we've had to navigate. And so then that means we've got to give each other space to work and to not overstep each other and so forth. But that does make what we do as a couple a little different than what a lot of other couples that we've seen do. If I leave, Victoria runs the company, or vice versa. Either one of us can run this on a day-to-day basis, but we have our own roles within it.
Nice. I think that's just overall good advice for everybody, actually. So thank you for that. So one of the things that makes Waynesboro so special, and the business community in Waynesboro so special, is the ways that people find to give back to the community. So how do you guys find yourselves giving back to the community at Bear Creek?
Well, I think we work to start with our people first and foremost, just because we know that our people have families within our communities, and those families are important to us just as much as the staff member is. And so part of that is, we have a training program called Bear Creek U, and it's a program that allows them to get hands-on experience in whatever their position is. And so whether it's out on the field or in the office, that sort of thing, because we know that a lot of our trades they're aging out, at least in the construction industry, and there aren't those there teaching the next generation. And so we have found a ready amount of people that are like, they're ready to learn the trade, but they just need somebody to teach them. And so we're working to do that. We don't have it down perfect. Believe me, we're still figuring it out on this end, but it's teaching people a skill so that if they're not with us in 5 years because life has changed for them or they're moving on or starting their own business, that they have a marketable skill that they can do to provide for their families and also impact their own community and stuff. And so that's a big way that we choose to give back to our community, because our people are part of that community. I mean, and then there's organizations, like Camp Light and the Boys and Girls Club, places that are really caring well for the children in our community and just doing some really awesome work. And there's other organizations that are doing that as well, that we try to give back, whether it's, in donations or in volunteering or whatever that looks like. But they're usually organizations that have a direct impact in some way on Waynesboro.
Nice. So I think, 2020 has posed so many challenges for everyone in a really unprecedented way. So how has COVID-19 impacted what you're doing there at Bear Creek?
Yeah, it's been a tough year, and it's been a very uncertain year. It's been a year where we didn't know what was going to happen, still don't. I mean, there's still a lot of unknown stuff going on here. I mean, we've dealt with everything from looking like potentially we were about to be shut down, with restrictions, to then not very soon after, booming demand that we couldn't even handle the phone calls, to a lot of logistical issues that we're dealing with right now, trying to get materials done. We've had escalating costs that have negatively affected us, and so, yeah, it's just been very hard to predict what is or isn't going to happen. So we've just had to kind of be nimble and stay. But, it's financially, it's been the toughest year for sure. And so, we're still just trying to navigate that and get to the other side of it, so to speak, and then work from there.
Right. So having two seasoned entrepreneurs, I feel like we would be remiss to not ask what advice you have for other people that are thinking about starting out on their own endeavor with a business.
Go for it.
Yeah.
And if you go for it and the results don't line up and you supposedly fail, you will have learned more than you ever could have otherwise. And then you got what you need for the next go round. I mean, that's some of our story. Our first business didn't make it through the Great Recession. How we navigated this year was stuff we learned back then, so yeah, go for it. If you really want to, give it a shot, start as a side hustle, whatever. But I mean, we live in a land and a day with just incredible resources and opportunities and those kinds of things. So,
But it's not only about, going for it, most certainly, but like we talked about it before, we don't get anywhere by ourselves. So, find those people that can really champion you, that can coach you along. Brian and I have had coaches and people in our lives that have helped us as well. And so if you're really wanting to go after a dream, it's about taking those first steps. It's not always about the destination. It's about the journey to get there. I didn't start out with a 5-year plan with this business at all. I had no idea it would grow and do what it's doing. It was a matter of kind of following the breadcrumbs a little bit. But there is a point where you have to just kind of take the risk and take the leap. Doesn't mean you can't plan, but you can't plan for everything. Like Brian said, and sometimes it's just kind of taking a shot and seeing what comes. And then, get back. If you fall down, which you will, get back up and keep going.
Right. I think that's such so many important points that you made there. And I love what you said, Brian, that, the lessons that you learned previously are helping you now. At that time, you had no way of knowing that that might be the case, but here you are with wisdom from a situation that might have felt like it didn't work out. So I think, like you said, also, Victoria, that we're kind of constantly learning by trying and falling down and getting back up. And that's an important part of the process.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it sure is.
Yeah. So Bear Creek Outdoor Living, what do you see for the future of the company?
We're entrepreneurs at heart. And so we feel like if we don't build something that in the end allows people to grow all the way to the point we are, then we've stopped short. So that's what we want to do.
That is a wonderful mission to have. I mean, I think definitely people, I think, will resonate with the fact that you're not just providing products and services, but you're trying to really speak into people's lives and build people's lives, so that they can have a good future too. So we definitely appreciate that investment that you're making. Where can people find out more information about Bear Creek Outdoor Living?
So the best place to go is to our website. So it's bearcreek.co.co. And there you can see all of that, what we're doing and what we're up to. And of course, we have a Facebook page and an Instagram page as well that you can find us at Bear Creek Outdoor Living as well.
Okay, very good. Well, thank you, Brian and Victoria, for joining me for this episode of Waynesboro at Work. And for our viewers, if you'd like to learn more, you can visit the social media channels and the websites of Waynesboro Economic Development and Visit Waynesboro. Thank you so much for joining, and please keep a lookout for our next episode. Thank you.
Thanks, Brooke.